Right, so I do think we will have some respect here, right, because of the previous two bounces. Um, there was even respect here on the way up, so I do think we will overwhelmingly bearish, but I do think we will bounce a bit here and then probably go all the way up to like my assumption is like 960 because of the previous times we bounced, but eventually I do think we will come lower. My price tag is somewhere around like 440 or 270. Um, Now, if we don't hold this, it's pretty bad. Um, if we don't hold like 480, we most likely come all the way down to like 22.2. Because the reason for this is if we fail to hold like this golden zone, then the odds of us being an impulse is super, super low. And one thing I was looking at already was on these higher time frames, like on the weekly, right? We already closed below this liquidity. So to me, that means we pretty much have confirmed. Like there's a higher chance that we've confirmed to the downside than we have to the upside. Um, However, right, like as my previous analysis has had us, I did have us bouncing here for like at least 250 points, right? And I said that literally a week before it happened. So now we did end up bouncing almost exactly 250 points. I do have the B up here, but that's kind of like a pretty far target. For now, I do think that the impulse is yet to be over. I think for ES, right, when I'm looking at this kind of like move to the downside, the level I'm looking for us to bounce at is here at like 6,500 ish. If we do get like a wick here, then I think we go way, way, way higher to at least like 67.7. But for now, like the playable levels have just been this. I do think that all the moves should be pretty vertical. Right, because I mean, when you look to the left, for every single time we were inside this area, everything has been vertical. Like there's been little to no consolidation anywhere, except for right here, right? And when we were talking last week, I kind of pointed out that we would have like 5 or so candles of consolidation because that's what happened here previously, right? Now, for tonight price action, I mean, we are at like we're pretty close. We're pretty close to where I think we should bounce. So I think the risk to reward is pretty low, or pretty negative if you're still in a short. So I don't think it's a bad exit. I think at most, right, we wick down to like 770, but we should get a reaction. I mean, this 30-minute just closed at 798, right, which is above the 200%. It depends on how this candle closes, but if it does end up closing, let me just move this over. All right, like analyzing the structure right here, if we do end up closing above like 840, then I think that would confirm the bounce, at least on like this 30-minute to at least like 860. But ideally, you just close above these bodies. But for now, like, it's still questionable, right? Because the ideal low would be here at 770. So if this flips red, then I would suggest like cutting. But the next play I would try and take is right around here at 760, for a long, yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, crypto looks pretty odd as well. Right, like I have put a pretty heavy emphasis on how crypto's doing, because I do think that in order for us to run, like for multi-week trends, I do think everything needs to run, and based off this structure alone, it doesn't want to run yet, right? In fact, I think this is like pretty bad. Elliott wave wise, if we do treat this as the beginning of the move down, like this is really bad. Because these are what cascading golden zones, right? Like golden zone there, kind of like a golden zone, or I think it is a golden zone. Yeah, golden zone there, right? So, um, without getting into like the semantics of things, generally that's a bad sign. Right? Like if I flip it bullish, like this looks like, or sorry, if I flip the chart, then this looks pretty good for the upside. But right, that is the opposite. Um, so with the weekly close on NQ being inside of this like fragile structure, I do think that my bias for now is slightly bearish for the next like 2 to 3 weeks. One thing that's kind of like keeping me afloat in the bullish side of things is if we take into consideration the weekly close on ES, we didn't close underneath the liquidity. And I do kind of weigh ES a little bit higher because it is more more of a holistic approach to the market, right, as opposed to NQ. So, I mean, there's still odds of us being bullish, right? That's why I'm only like 60-40. But this is an insane like money making opportunity, right? Everything should be vertical. Like all the trends, all the rejections here should be vertical. So that's kind of what I'm playing over here. So I mean, I'll try and take a long here. I cut my short way too early. I cut it right here. I thought there. I entered here at like near the top because we failed. Yeah, we failed to close into the range, right? We failed to close or to accept into this range. So, but I didn't end up scaling in because of what you said, right? The 185 didn't close below 104. So I only had two cons. This is one of those things where like sometimes your confirmation is a good level, but the candle doesn't close below, or yeah, in this case below, right, in the context. So I didn't end up scaling in, even though in hindsight it would have been good, but there. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Trump was talking, so but I don't really care about news, right? So, um, or like even the low here, right? People are saying that this is because of the news with Iran or whatever, but I mean, I've had this marked literally weeks before, right? So, uh, yeah, so charts are reflective of psychology, so I do think that news is fairly irrelevant, but um, yeah, I didn't think it would be this bearish. Uh, at the very least, I expected some kind of reaction here. Um, just on the 30. Mm. Well, that right that isn't ideal. Obviously, we should just wait for the next one. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, I guess for tonight, right? Like we're just waiting for 770, or I'm just waiting for 770. I know you entered already. Um. Oh, okay, okay. Never mind then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, I have some. I have a bid at 777 and then 768. So I will wait for those to fill. But if not, then I'll probably just exit those, or I'll cancel those orders. Probably around like midnight or something when I go to sleep. But that's the plan. Um, was there any trade you wanted to review so far recently? Was there any trade you wanted to review recently? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think one thing though, like I do want to stress is the extensions come after the price action, right? All the fib stuff comes after. Um, yeah, I would not have made any of these claims had I not looked to the left, right? A lot of people seem to, or like a trend I notice whenever I teach people, because I end up teaching the fib stuff after, they focus more on the fib stuff just because of like recency stuff. Yeah, yeah. But the important part is just looking to the left here. Right? Like even though the 200% is right here and like the 1272 of the move up, um, I still target here just because of these wicks, right? Uh, so what could happen, right, is we wick on this 195-minute candle, maybe by like 11 or 11:30, we wick down 770, we start bouncing, and then we end up closing above, kind of mimicking what happened here. Right? Like that's probably what's gonna happen, and then we get like a small bounce up to 960, right? Like that's. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, like another thing I wanted to point out was some people in my DMs asked me why didn't I look at this golden zone, right? Like I'm looking to the left. There has been no reaction here, right? Like, well, in terms of like recent price action, there has been no reactions here, right? So it's just completely irrelevant to me, right? Like I only look at retracements when it has previous price action. Like at best, you have this wick here, but even then, it's not that strong. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just not amazing. At best, right? Like if we're looking at the isolated rejections here at this golden zone, then your first target would be 24,004, right? So where did we go? We came down to 24,004 and then kind of struggled a bit, right? Where's the next target down? Well, the structure has us here, right? So this is the next structure before we ended up falling. So where did we end up bouncing? Exactly there, right? There's just no coincidence there. Um, yeah, the price action to the left matters way, way, way more. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people fall under that trap. I think I just failed to stress it enough. But hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps. Alrighty.